on and talking to you. Good morning to you. Stevie the Guide here from Kerrville, Texas. And I'm excited to just be a live human being free on the earth. I'm trying to raise the vibration of this planet any way I can. And I'm excited just to be alive. Yesterday I was talking about these theme songs that turned me on and raised my vibration, and I pulled them up, and I'm not sure if you can see them or not, but this one here grabbed me since ever I can remember. That is, of course, the opening theme to Johnny Quest cartoon from Hanna-Barbera, and I never missed that when I was a kid. And you know, it's wild. That was only, I think, 1.5 seasons of shows, and they had some glitch in business, probably about money, and so they stopped making the cartoon. They started doing a remake in the 80s. Somebody else took it, and it was probably good. I never watched the new one. It was probably good, but it didn't look the same. It didn't feel the same, and it wasn't the same. Whatever they did in the first. And the guy, I can't remember the guy's name, who was the composer of all that Johnny Quest music, but he was absolutely fantastic. He was a musical prodigy, and it just turned me on. And the images on that show, that the Johnny Quest cartoon was one of the only cartoons where they went to places you could actually look up on a map, you know, Africa and, you know, South America and places like that. And it was the first time I ever heard terms like scuba gear or particle beam weapon or laser or hovercraft or hydrofoil. It was a show well in front of its time, and it just it raised my vibration, and so, you know, this whole thing about raising the vibration is really what drives me. It's this war between the left and right brain, and we are headed for a train wreck. All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen of humanity, and it's becoming more obvious all the time. It's this, you know, this freight train, this runaway freight train on a dark and stormy night of the corporations that they have to continue to grow and do whatever they can to make their shareholders happy. And this is oftentimes, at least, in direct conflict with the rest of us in humanity. You know, I kind of think they made a big mistake, frankly, when they allowed the corporation to take on human form. All right, you can the people inside the corporation can make all sorts of decisions, but at the end, when somebody gets sued, it's not them personally, it's the corporation. They can hide behind that corporate shield. The corporation takes on this life of its own. I think that's wrong. I really do. I think the individuals who run the corporation should be held personally accountable for all their decisions, just like you and me. But they didn't call me from the White House or somewhere and ask for my opinion. I just throw it out there. But it's a train wreck, folks. It's a train wreck that we are well on the way to having between corporations and the powers that be. Whatever they are, the banking elite, the corporate elite, the big money power that the hand that rocks the cradle. There's this corporations and humanity, and I'll give you a couple of simple examples of what I mean. Think about this: if good health broke out on the planet tomorrow, it would devastate big portions of our economy. All right. If everybody all of a sudden was healthy and they had healthy teeth and healthy bodies and healthy minds, you'd put all these people out of business. All right. And some folks say that's a really bad thing. All right. Certainly corporations who make medicines and things I'm not against pharmaceutical companies. I mean, when I had malaria in the Amazon jungle, hey, thank God for that chloroquine sulfate they gave me, thank God. And when I had a busted arm, thank God for that Demerol that they gave me. There's plenty of examples. When I had a really bad respiratory or infection, thank God for those Z-Packs. What is that? Zithromycin, But these things have got to be used in moderation. The management of people's health, mental and physical health on a day-to-day basis by taking medicine, the pendulum has swung way out of line. So let's just say that. But if good health broke out on the planet tomorrow, it's in direct conflict with corporations. If peace broke out on the planet tomorrow and nobody wanted to kill each other and bomb each other, and there was goodwill towards men as we go into Christmas time, and peace on earth, goodwill towards men, if that actually happened, can you imagine how devastated the military industrial complex might be? All right. This is reality. All right. And so what's good for the corporations is not good for humanity oftentimes. And so what is it exactly? What is the problem going on here? Some say it's politics, it's the Democrats versus the Republicans, and some say it's religion, it's the Christians and the Muslims and the Hindus and the Buddhists, and they're all in conflict, and pick a group. It's the men and the women, it's the gays and the straights, or whatever. But really, what I believe the core of this problem is, and that's really the reason I'm here, is just to save humanity, all right, in whatever crazy way I can, but it's this battle between the left and right brain. That's really what it is. That's the crux of the matter. And what do I mean by that? Well, we've gone into this, heavily left brain dominated world. All right, left brain, logical, egoic mind. And it is all about me and mine and what can I get, and that's the dominant sort of male, soldier type mind. The right brain is more the gentle, feminine, intuitive, more quiet mind, and that has been pushed down, and over time, you can see it all kinds of ways. I mean, if you just look purely at male and female over the last 500 or 1,000 years, what you're going to see is the dominant males pushing the females in lesser positions of power, taking away their power. It was always the female that was a threat to the power structure. You know, it was always the female who was the midwife, or she was the one that knew about natural plants. She was the one in the village that you took your kid to when they were sick. Normally, it wasn't some guy; it was a woman, a wise woman, and she was often the one who was very, ferociously independent. She wasn't easily drawn into some power structure. She was independently minded, and so it's this struggle between the right and left brain. And I believe that the right brain has been pushed back into a corner, and the left brain is way up here. Now, again, like with pharmaceuticals and many other things in our world today, I think largely because of the internet, we can just talk to each other. But the pendulum is beginning to swing back into more of a balance. And as we practice things, I was asked last night, we had the forbidden discussions here in Kerrville, Texas. Last night we talked about Kundalini, and as with every meeting that we have there, we talked about a lot of things, just whatever comes to mind. But we talked a lot about this balance that needs to occur, and the main subject was Kundalini rising, and that's a fascinating subject. I relate it to seedlings. When this phenomena called Kundalini, if you're not familiar with it, it's a Buddhist Hindu term. It's actually a Sanskrit term. It comes from the very beginning of mankind, and it is a hidden, dormant, sleeping energy source, divine energy source that resides at the base of the spine, and you can look it up, Kundalini, and it whenever a human being gets to a certain right place in their life, in the right conditions, this energy, springs out of it. I had an event back at June 14th of 2014 at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I was in deep meditation, and this energy, shot through me and burst out of the top of my skull and shot into outer space. And I was not drinking or doing drugs. This was a natural occurrence, and I didn't even know anything about it. So it made me, it was like when I had malaria. Once I got malaria, I wanted to know, what the hell is this thing? So I started to study about it. It's a blood parasite that runs through your body. So when I contracted this Kundalini situation, I was like, what the heck was that? I got to go check that out. And so I typed in, high energy experience during meditation. And the word Kundalini pops up, and I've read quite a bit about it now, but I'm no expert. I'm no teacher. I'm just a guy that it happened to, all right? And so really in this live stream that I'm doing, all I'm really doing is giving you the benefit of whatever perspective and experience and feelings that I've had. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not trying to tell you that you should be a certain way. All I'm attempting here is to give you my honest, authentic human being experience. And this is what happened to me on June 14th of 2014. And what happened after that? Did all of a sudden my life turn right? I was enlightened, awakened, and I knew, massive amounts of new information, and, became a wizard? No, that's not what happened. But what did happen, and now that I've had a few years to look back upon this sudden Kundalini experience, hang on just a second. There, maybe that looks better. I'm just learning this technology. Anyway, what my interpretation of Kundalini is very much like a seed. When you place a seed in the ground and you water it, sooner or later something will happen to it, and it germinates and it pops open. Now, does that instantly turn into a giant oak tree? No, it does not. All right. But what does it do? This little green thing, this little life pops out of it, and it starts to seek. It starts to move and discover and explore and try to instinctively find its way to the surface. It somehow knows to go to the surface. And, this is a clear indication to me that plants, by the way, have consciousness, all right? And you want to prove that theory? You take a plant and you put it in the middle of your room in your house, and it'll face a certain way, especially like daisies and other plants, live plants. And then you take it over by the window, and if the sun's over here and the plant's facing this way, when you put it next to that light, that plant is going to turn around and acknowledge the sunshine. Okay, it's gonna know where the sun is. The plant knows. Okay, and so my point is that this Kundalini experience in human beings is very much like a seedling that finally germinates and pops open and is able to seek its path and find its way to the surface, and then you get into another stage of growth. All right, and so when I had that, did my life instantly change? No, but what it did do, clearly, now that I've had several years, I can honestly say that it was the beginning of a pattern of seeking, of trying to find my way, and questioning everything. All right, that was when I was in 2 or 3 different Bible studies there in Houston, and all of a sudden I'm asking all these difficult questions that annoyed everyone. All right, and I started conversations which led to friendships with all sorts of people. The Venerable Hung Yi, who's the abbot of the Jade Buddha Temple and the founder of the American Bodhi Center in Houston, this 500-acre Buddhist retreat center. I met him on a cruise ship at 4:30 in the morning. All right, he's a wonderful man from China, and I think originally from Burma, who's lived in the United States for 35 years, or some such. Highly educated, wonderful guy, and I struck up a conversation over a cup of coffee with him on a cruise ship, and we became lifelong friends. Another woman that I barely knew in high school. Suddenly I'm in contact with her on Facebook. She had seen our work with the kids and the doctors down in Peru when we were missionaries, and she contacted me, and she knew that I was under pressure in Houston, and she and her husband invited me to fly down to Costa Rica and gave me 10 days of free healing at their vibrational healing center. And that was phenomenal. And her name is Wendy Strebe. She has the Meta Vibrational Healing Center in Costa Rica. And if you want some intense conditioning to try to help nurture your intuitive right brain and try to curtail and get under control this imbalanced egoic left brain, try to get some balance in your life, man, Wendy knows, all right? And she's also very acquainted with natural healing techniques of all kinds. And she's the first person I call if I even have a sore throat. And she'll be the first advice that I seek. So Wendy Strebe in Costa Rica, you can just Google her, you'll find her. Strebe. And I love you, Wendy, if you're listening. But people started entering my life, and people come and go in my life all the time. But it seemed like after that Kundalini thing, all of a sudden I was establishing new relationships suddenly. Anyway, it's an amazing phenomena. And these are some of the things that we've been talking about in the Forbidden Discussions there at the Unity Church on Thursday nights in Kerrville, 7 o'clock. And there's usually anywhere from 30 to 50 people last night, or during the week, 30 to 50. Last night it was about 20, 22, maybe something like that. And but what's really cool is the type of people that show up. And if any of you guys are listening, thank you for coming. It's been so much fun, and it's been therapy for me. It's part of the reason that I've gained the courage to just come on and start telling you whatever's on my heart and mind. But every Thursday night, I have a live group of people. It's some of the coolest, most intuitive, right-brained people in the city of Kerrville and surrounding areas. I've had people come from Bernie, from San Antonio, from Hunt, from elsewhere, and so it's been an amazing journey so far, and it's only been going on about 4 or 5 months, and so anyway, I'll be doing that for the foreseeable future every Thursday night. Now, sometimes there's other special events, so you got to keep your eye on the Unity website. But basically, it's all about raising our consciousness level. What we talk about is a lot of different what we call phenomena or altered states of consciousness, supernatural events. People have been visited by aliens or supernatural beings. They have had out-of-body experiences where they floated around in the universe and had a light body. I have had this experience myself when I was young. They have memories of past lives that they have lived. These are normal, common human being experiences that people have all the time, okay? And so just get over it. We have been living in this world with this thought police that tells us, no, these things aren't real, all right? No, you didn't have a premonition that somebody was about to come through that door and then they did, all right? No, you didn't have a feeling of being protected in a horrific car accident, and there was no one there. It's just your imagination. And I love these stories of near-death experiences where someone dies on the operating table. They go off into the ceiling. They see everything that's going on. They may go down the hall and see the people in the waiting room crying, know what's going on in there. They're down there praying. And that person's floating around. They go up. They see Jesus, the bright lights, a very common, everyday human being experience. But when they get back into their body and they tell the doctor about it, he says, no, that didn't happen to you. All right. It was the drugs. It was the experience. It was the whatever. No. I have to go back to Richard Pryor. The Richard Pryor answer kills me. All right. And it's what's been happening in our world. Richard Pryor's wife caught him in bed with another woman one time. And his answer was, no, baby. I don't care what you think you saw. Nothing was happening. I wasn't doing anything with her. I don't care what you think you saw. I don't care what you think you felt. I don't care, what you think happened when you were a little kid and you saw that ghost or that supernatural being walking down the hallway. It didn't happen. All right. This is the kind of world we live in. All right. This Jedi mind trick. No, these are not the droids you're looking for. Nothing in your right brain is actually happening. These intuitions, premonitions, visions, stuff like this. Stuff that you read about commonly in the Bible, but no, it couldn't possibly happen to you. All right. And I'm done with it. I'm done with the thought police, okay? Stevie's off the reservation and on the loose, all right? And I'm going to investigate every one of these types of experiences. And, as you go through history, you'll see human beings not only sort of spontaneously having altered states of consciousness and a vision into the higher bandwidth and frequency. But they have skills to induce this. You don't got to go take a plant medicine in South America to get a vision, although it is a hack, and I could tell you all about that, which I will. I'm going to tell you about everything. Everything's coming out, all right? But if you go to other cultures all over the place, you're going to see these techniques that they have, whether they are breathing techniques or whether they are whirling dervishes that induce an altered state of consciousness, or whether they have meditation practices, Kundalini yoga practices, or breathing exercises, or what have you. When the missionaries and the colonists came and invaded any indigenous culture on this planet, what's the first thing that they did in order to control the population? What's the first thing that they outlawed? All right, it was the right brain nurturing and inducing practices. That's what it was. All right, they went in there and they said, okay, we're in charge now. No more dancing, no more music, no more language. And no more use of plant medicine. We'll run the hospitals here. We'll control the medicine, not you. Not the shaman, not the wise woman, not anybody else. We're in charge of health, all right? And so they stripped away all the right brain, intuitive, stimulating practices that help us. And they're like, okay, you're going to dress the way we do. You're going to cut your hair the way we do. You're going to talk the way we do, walk the way we do. And if you don't, we're going to beat the shit out of you or kill you. All right, that's what we're going to do. And if you take a look at the example of the American Indian, just for example, and you can look at examples all over the planet. But what happened? Well, first we wanted all their land, and so we systematically started killing off millions of them, just to get rid of them because they were in the way, all right? Now, this was not nice and not neighborly. When we celebrate Thanksgiving, which is a wonderful custom in our tradition, my tradition anyway, just had a nice Thanksgiving with my family. Love Thanksgiving, thankful. But indigenous people look upon it as a time when the white boys showed up and they helped them survive a few winters and taught them how to, use the native foods and got them through. And then the white boy, once they were strong enough, killed them, all right? Attacked the piss out of them and drove them back. So after killing off as many as they could, what did they do with the survivors, okay? Well, then they dominated them and they said, all right, no more dancing, no more ceremonies, no more music, no more of your native language that we don't understand. None of that. No more of the use of medicines, sweat lodges, no more, kiva ceremonies, where you have a hole down in the ground and you dig fire and it's like going into the womb. And sweat lodges, no, you cannot go in there and talk with your people and have these intimate spiritual conversations. No way. All right. And and to make sure that this shit doesn't continue, we're taking your kids. All right. You can camp outside the fence of the boarding school. There's a famous picture, maybe multiple pictures, but it is absolutely heartbreaking to me now. You see these Indian teepees, the little encampment just outside of the fence of the boarding school where the children were taken. And the colonists had taken the native children from their parents and cut the hair, put them in uniforms, and forced them to learn how to speak English. They were beaten and abused if they practiced anything that their parents had taught them, spoke in anything but English. if they sang the songs, if they spoke in their native language, if they danced, if they chanted, if they played music or anything, and so they were stripped. And what I suggest to you is that in this way, you and I have also been oppressed in this fashion. All right, and our natural human being powers of right brain intuition have been grossly suppressed. And this, my friends, this is the key to saving this civilization. The planet's going to make it, okay? Don't worry about the planet, because once we get just a little too problematic for the planet, it's going to wipe us out in droves, okay? You're going to have a mass die-off of human beings, all right? The planet will recover, all right? It'll flood. The planet doesn't care about climate change. The climate change is here all the time. Just ask the dinosaurs, okay? And the planet's going to make it. It's humanity that we need to think about. And if we are on this present course, this train wreck, this runaway freight train on a dark and stormy night, if we don't address that, and again, I believe the crux of it is this war of the minds. We're all, many of us are not going to be here. Our kids and grandkids, they won't survive. All right. If we don't figure out a much more equitable way, a much more balanced way of living together on this rock. All right, it's a beautiful planet. One of the biggest blessings of my life is that I have been allowed to travel all over this planet, and it is a marvelous, marvelous planet. I've been on the bottom of the ocean. I've been on top of mountains. I've wandered around in jungles. I've visited all sorts of beautiful people on this planet. I love you, every one of you. And it's the main reason that I'm willing to look ridiculous and talk into this camera is because I do love you very, very much. And I'll do whatever I can to try to share with you the benefit of, my perspective. But I've gotten to travel. And since I was a little boy dreaming about Johnny Quest and Jacques Cousteau and Marlon Perkins, I started forming visions of being an explorer. When I was 7 years old, my dad asked me what I wanted to be, and I told him I wanted to be an explorer, and he was like, well, you're not going to make much money with that. Maybe you should learn how to sell something. And the thing is, you are a unique creation, and you have instincts about who you're supposed to be. But society has been trying to force you into certain types of jobs, and that is precisely why I got a friend named Becky Preble. All right, I haven't seen her in a long time. She's a brilliant woman, and she was in human resources for a long time, and then she started a private practice where she counseled mostly upper end doctors, lawyers, engineers, professionals of the highest order. And what they often talked about, as I loosely gather, is that these men had gone into a profession largely because they thought they were supposed to, or because they thought it would make them a lot of money. I know about this, and I became a real estate broker because I thought it would make me a lot of money, and it helped me raise the kids, but I didn't love it, with all my heart and soul. And so what happens? They get into these careers. They're not growing as a natural human being is supposed to in their own unique direction, and they get thrust into this career. Now their wife and their children or their family is all dependent on the money they make and the lifestyle they provide, and the family is all happy, because they get all that benefit. But the person, the man or woman who is the provider, who goes day to day and makes the money, he is not happy. She is not happy. Why? Because they don't love what they do. and they did not intuitively enter into the profession, and so they become very, very unhappy, and they become anxious, they become depressed, they become alcoholics and drug addicts. They have midlife crisis and go, off and buy a Ferrari, or run off with the dental assistant in their office, because she's younger and prettier and whatever. They freak out, all right? They try to get some of that feeling back that they're longing for. And the pharmaceutical industry is happy to give you a pill for any fucking thing. All right. This is not the way to manage one's emotions. It's kind of like this, folks. If you have acid indigestion and acid reflux, okay, and your body is telling you it feels bad, right? It has a high acid level. The answer, my friends, is not to go to the pharmacy and buy some pill that in many cases, and hell, I'm not a doctor, but in my opinion, most cases, it's not to go and buy a pill so that you can continue all those negative habits that created the acid in the first place, all right? The answer is to start eliminating things that are not working for you and discover what does work for you. We tend to just throw all kinds of garbage into our body, and then we wonder why it doesn't feel good, all right? And we drink lots of booze and stuff that's high in acid. Your body has a balance too, just like your mind. Your body's like a swimming pool, all right? It's a swimming pool. It has acid and has alkaline, and you've got to have a balance in there to make that pool clear and beautiful, all right? And the same thing with your mind, all right? And so balance in all things, I know I get imbalanced a lot, and when I want a little pick me up, I listen to stuff like this.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
The human drama.
The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer, who invites you to see the 1983 Ford cars and trucks. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Midas, with over 1,200 Midas muffler and brake shops. Trust the Midas touch for any muffler or brake work you need on your American or imported car. And by Honda portable generators for camping, hunting, boating, even charging your car battery.
I love that. Hell, I didn't care that much about the wide world of sports, but I love that intro. I'm telling you, I love that. And there will never be a time where I won't appreciate that art that those folks made. Those images and that music just fit together so beautifully, and they inspire me. They raise my vibration, all right? Anything you can do to raise your vibration is good, all right? And anything, when you have a feeling, try to listen to it, because it's going to guide you in a certain place. Again, I'll say meditation is a great thing to do. Maybe I've said this before, but I love this guy, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Okay, if you've never heard of him, pull up some of his YouTube videos. He's wonderful, and he's got these programs. Dr. Joe, I love you. All right, and he's got seminars and stuff you can go to. I wish I could afford to go to one. All right, but basically what he talks about, and he cooks meditation down into a little nutshell. He's basically saying, you've got to treat yourself like a dog. All right. I hear people tell me all the time, just meditation doesn't work for me, and I don't have the time, and I just sit there and nothing happens, and 10 minutes a day. You practice this for 10 minutes. Dr. Joe says your body doesn't want to sit there, okay? Your mind, your little chattering monkey brain does not want to settle down. When you sit down and start to tell yourself to be quiet, the mind is automatically going to start moving around. It's going to think about what's happening today. It's going to think about the news and who you hate out there. It's going to think about stuff that happened yesterday, maybe who you were arguing with or what you were worried about, any number of things, and your mind doesn't want to settle down, settle right down, doesn't want to do that. All right. And so Dr. Joe says you have to tell your body to sit. The body wakes up. It wants coffee. It wants to do, a million different things. It wants to pick up the screen. It wants to pick up the screen and start messing around with, what's going on out there. I know. I got a chattering little monkey mind too. And so what do? Well, first, you have to make the body do what you want to do. General Patton said the body always wants to quit. You have to make the mind override the body. So the mind tells the body, you sit like a dog. I'm going to train you how to do this. And the mind is telling the body, you're going to sit here for 10 minutes every day, maybe right when you wake up, which is a good time to do it. And then it's like a little puppy. You're trying to train a puppy and you tell it to sit. It doesn't want to. It moves, it jumps, but you keep putting it back. No, puppy, and after a while, it realizes that it's not going to get away. So it gives up, it surrenders, and it starts to say, okay, I'll sit. My master's going to feed me and take care of me. But right now I have to do what my master says. And this is very important, that you become the master of your situation. And it's easier said than done, believe me. I know. I'm not very disciplined, but I'm getting there. And so you get yourself first to start sitting down for 10 minutes. And then you do what the Venerable Hung Yi and the Venerable Katapuno say. They're two monks that I know from Houston. Who are wonderful, wonderful, highly educated men. And it was Venerable Katapuno, was a monk from Taiwan. Hey, I want to give him a hello out there. I'm sure he's probably not watching, but I love you. So basically, what this Buddhist monk told me is, when you start sitting down, your mind is like a chattering monkey. Okay, it wants to chatter and talk and think about all kinds of different things. Okay, and you're never ever going to get that monkey to shut up. Okay, never. That monkey will keep talking. Okay, so what do? You give that monkey a job. You give that chattering monkey mind a job. All right, give it a job. What's that job? You tell it, monkey, you pay attention to my breathing. While I'm sitting here for 10 minutes, all you're going to do is pay attention to my breathing, all right? Now, your monkey mind is very much like your body. It doesn't want to sit still, all right? That monkey, and so you will sit still and the monkey will start doing its job. Pay attention to the breathing. That's what it'll do, all right? And then pretty quick, you will realize that monkey has strayed away from its job and starting to think about a multitude of other things. And then you gently remind the monkey, monkey, please come back and do your job. Always be polite to the monkey, okay? The monkey mind, all right? Monkey, come back and do your job, all right? And it'll settle back down. Pay attention to your breathing, and then you settle back in a little deeper into the silence, all right? And, after a while, you're going to notice that monkey has strayed into other thoughts, and you just gently bring it back to do its job. Monkey, you have to do your job. And as you do this exercise, it helps you settle down into a state of silence, all right? It's not prayer. It's not, thinking about God. It's the art of bringing your mind into a state of silence, all right? And from that state, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it when you start to sink into silence. it is from there, from that place, that a lot of stuff can change. Because what that's doing, it is the natural human being way to relax that left brain, logical, egoic mind. That's the monkey mind that is constantly chattering, worrying, anxious, depressed, all these various things, and settling it down. And once that left brain logical starts to settle down, then the right brain intuitive has permission to begin to rise, all right, and it begins to create a balance, all right, and those thoughts and feelings from that deeper part of yourself, that small still voice, has permission to rise and to begin to give you information, all right, and to begin to offer divine guidance into your life, and it is from where our intelligence, our true intelligence, comes, and it is that will actually save the planet. It is those feelings of love and balance and care and thoughtfulness for others and all those beautiful things that you read about in the Bible. It is from there that those true feelings naturally come up. It's not contrived, it's not read in a book, it's not listened to in a lecture. It is natural, and it naturally emerges from your right brain. And I believe, and it's been my experience, that as you bring some balance back to that brain, all right, it starts to open up the heart, all right. And did you know that your heart thinks more than your brain? Apparently, scientists have proved this. It's got tons more of electromagnetic energy and thinking capacity than your brain, all right, your heart, all right. And so, but that left brain logical is constantly trying to stay in charge. And anything you can do, whether it's some kind of ancient practice or just simply a simple meditation practice, it's good. And it is, in my opinion, Stevie the Guide says, this balance of the left and right brain is what's going to save humanity. And if we can just practice that, what can we do? Some guy asked me last night in the Forbidden Discussions, which is here in Kerrville, Texas, on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. He asked me last night, well, what can we do to prepare, for this, this sort of coming age? And believe me, folks, a new age is coming, all right? And whether you understand this or not, there's a lot of things coming down the pike, technologically speaking, just that. Forget about this whole, new golden age and this whole, sort of new era that people talk about. Just think about technology for a moment, all right? I lived in Austin, Texas for a year, where I talked to people in every walk of technology life. I talked with heads of corporations that do genetic engineering. They do driverless car software. They do Dell computer guys talk about the Internet of Things, all right, artificial intelligence, virtual reality. All this stuff is coming, and stuff you have no idea about. The vice president of Harvard University told me that nano insect drones are the big thing at Harvard, and these things fly, they crawl, they swim. They have, and they're all heavily funded by the Department of Defense. And make no mistake, the DoD is spending bazillions of your tax dollars on every technological front. And I mean, they're trying to develop genetically altered humans at a high rate of speed, all right? And whether or not this ruffles your feathers does not matter to them, all right? If you think it's morally and ethically wrong that you genetically alter human beings, Too bad, all right, because that's what they're doing, all right? And that's what China and Russia and India and everybody is doing in the genetic engineering world, all right? So get used to it. This stuff is coming, all right? Genetic code is just like computer code. You can mix and match it any way you want to. And you can believe some little egghead is in a laboratory right now trying to figure out how to upgrade human beings, all right? Big dollars are being thrown at this, right? So get used to that, and that is where we're going. Get used to another thing too. There's a neato book. You may not like it, but this book called Sapiens is a fascinating read. Basically what it talks about is the 3 different types of human. It goes through a brief history of human beings. It's by a guy named Yuval Noah Harari, and it's a brief history of humankind. And it goes back in history to where, we came from, nomadic people to these basically villages where in our ability to congregate and organize things really was comes from our ability to create really good bullshit, to create stories and spark the imagination. You could get people to congregate together and fight for a cause if you told them, hey, we're a kingdom and this is our king, and, so we're all together, and anyway, so the upshot of the book is where humanity is now going, all right? And he says 3 different types of humans are coming out. One of them is the genetically altered human, all right? Now, this is something basically that in 100 or 200 years from now, the people in that time will be talking about us the same way that we now talk about the Neanderthal, okay? Some primitive caveman out there. That's what they're going to be saying about us, all right? The genetically altered human. What they are attempting to do with your tax dollars in rapid way is to upgrade humans, stronger, smarter, disease resistant. Do you think people like China would love to have a race of super soldiers? Huh? Bigger, stronger, more powerful. You read about people in the Bible that were giants. They were strong. They did stuff, and they lived to be hundreds of years old. That is one type of human that they are actively working on with your tax money. The next thing is augmented humans. And now we are already somewhat augmented. They're just, trying to create upgrades like you wouldn't believe, all right? You can already go in and get a new heart. You can get, eyes and ears, and every part of your body can be replaced or upgraded. You got people that are being augmented with drugs and steroids and stuff commonly. You've got people that got prosthetic devices and all sorts of different technology connected to their body. Well, this is just going to get more and more, to where you may have an Iron Man suit that you fly around in, and you can do, all kinds of super things with, and give you this technology. Implantable technology, all right? Stuff called smart dust, where you can sprinkle it on a person. It's sort of a microcomputer chip the size of a grain of dust. It can just enter your body. You don't even know it. You can be remotely accessed. Who knows what's in those chemtrails up there? All I'm saying is, and I don't mean to scare you, but what I am saying is that if we remain asleep in this sort of left brain logical, and we don't bring forward our right brain intuitive and develop that, and bring about a balance that will allow us to be full human beings, if we don't overcome the brain war that has been perpetrated on us for hundreds of years, then we're going to perish, okay? That's what's going to happen. The normal human being that we know, if he doesn't use his full capacity then he's not going to make it. And we will be further dominated and enslaved by the powers that be, the Illuminati. And I don't want that for you or me or my kids. I want us to wake up in any way that we can. And so, hey, I'm doing my part. You know, I told you about that big old brother. He's an ex-football player. Big old black dude came into the gym. And I was, struggling with this weight. And he goes, "Hey, man, are you bringing it? Are you bringing it?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, yeah, I'm bringing it. I'm bringing it." Well, I'm bringing it, baby. I love you. And go out there and tell someone you love them just because it feels good, and watch their vibration rise, and do whatever you can to learn about this left and right brain. It's very important. I love you, and I'll